What do you wear on a first date? Okay, full transparency right now, the shirt that I am currently wearing, if you're watching this on YouTube, you see the shirt. Anybody who is listening, it is a tan shirt, has a little cutout in the chest, almost long sleeves, not quite. It's a bit of a, I don't know what type of material this is. Anyways, you get the point. This is the shirt that I actually wore on the first date that I went on with my husband. Now, you might be like, oh, that's so cute. This is great, which cute, great, awesome. Here's a little hack that I think people should know. When you go on first dates, this is what I did. This is what I tell my clients to do. This is how you pick out a first date outfit. Welcome to Carla Turned On, where dating gets real, sex gets talked about, and the BS gets left on red. Let's get turned on. Rewear the same first date outfit. Like, have a first date outfit. This goes for men, this goes for women. So it doesn't have to be anything fancy. Obviously, there's different vibes for different dates. So like, it's not one size fits all. Like, don't wear your hiking outfit. And when I say hiking, don't go on a first date hike with anybody. I'm just talking more about when I used to live in when I used to live in LA and I used to go on hiking trails. That would be like an appropriate first date hike, something like Runyon Canyon. Anybody who is like, I have no idea what Runyon Canyon is. It is a celebrity LA hike. It is this hike. It's on a fire road. There are a couple off-roading, and I put in quotes off-roading, paths that you can go on with Runyon that are beautiful. You can overlook, but you basically get a 360 view of Los Angeles. It is beautiful, amazing, and can even be romantic for a first date. It's very public. There's a lot of people around. So I'm not expecting to be attacked by the date, right? If you go on a first hiking date or you suggest a first hiking date in the wilderness or in the woods or somewhere that's remote, that's creepy, that's weird, right? Don't do it. This isn't just watch out women. If a man, no, if a dude goes on a hike with a woman in the wilderness and she suggests it, I would absolutely be like, what the hell is going on? Doesn't matter there. However, if you know that you are not going on a trail date and you guys are not going for a walk, don't wear your athleisure wear to grab ice cream. Vibe depends, but no, you're going to want to wear something that still feels appropriate for being in a place on a first date versus like we're doing an activity. You hear? Yeah, hear. But I remember asking my husband, it wasn't that long ago, but I asked my husband, I was like, so when you originally met me, this is now while we were dating, okay? So we were in a relationship at this point, but I was like, when you met me, did I look the same from my photos? He was like, yeah, but you looked so good in person. He was like, sometimes you get people where their photos are amazing. And I mean, like, I'm agreeing with him on this one too. I'm like nodding. Yeah. Although I always tell clients who I work with on their dating profiles and that kind of thing, sometimes men, and I am not trying to call men out. I really am not trying to call men out here. Sometimes men don't take the best photos, right? Because why? Girls have their girlfriends to be like, oh my gosh, that's so cute. Let's do a photo shoot, that picture. I love it. Dudes aren't doing that. And if you are, that's awesome because you have good friends who are trying to help you get good photos for your profile. But without a doubt, I always have my guy clients struggle with getting good profile pictures. It's just the way it is. It's just, yeah. But I will say this right now, because women have their girlfriends there to take good photos, they know the angles, all these things, the lighting, they edit, whatever, sometimes can look a certain way on your profile. And then in person, maybe it's not as like bright, dim, you're dimmed, right? And then in person, it's not as wow because you can do a lot to a photo. However, my husband was telling me, he was like, you looked really good in person. And obviously he was like, you had a great personality and you were just so positive and it was a great date. And I think this is something to be said. It wasn't necessarily that like sparky feeling because I talk a lot about like, don't follow the spark. But it wasn't necessarily a sparky feeling. We both said it wasn't this like, oh my God, love at first sight. This is it. But we were very attracted to each other. We're like, this is awesome. You have a great personality. You're attractive, blah, 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 all the things. And that's what continued on the dates. It wasn't the feeling of this like spark. So anyways, I know I'm just trying to say right here, long story short, this is the shirt I wore to the first date with my husband. Yeah. But I am so excited to dive in today all around my turned off rant, which is you're intimidating. We're going to dive into that. This has to be talked about. This whole idea of when your date says, oh, you're intimidating, or even when you're in a relationship and the person that you're in a relationship with is all of a sudden like, oh, whoa, I really like that you're accomplished or you're a go-getter and all these things, but oh, it's hurting my ego, so I'm going to dim you. Yeah, I know. I'm going all into this right now. We're going to wait a minute. Take a deep breath, Carla, and we are going to go into our main portion as well, which is how we are currently in a dating epidemic. And I'm going to share personally how I posted a video on TikTok and it got reposted by an influencer who pushes a certain type of agenda, who has lots of followers, lots of accounts. It got millions and millions and millions of views. And the backlash was really interesting on to my part, but I don't give a shit because I stay true to exactly what I said in the video. And we're going to talk about why we're in a dating epidemic and what that looks like for anybody who is experiencing this or anybody who is getting divorced right now because of this. And of course, we're gonna talk about it. And we're gonna get into why you struggle to have an orgasm and how to fix that. This could be for men, this could be for women, and we're going to dive deep in there and get clarity on how to achieve it and how to relax yourself so you can have good sex. But first, let's get turned off. When I was dating, I had been told by several men that I was intimidating, or they would say, oh, I was intimidated at first by you. Like it would come out later on. That was such a turnoff for me. And I'm going to be honest, I have a lot of women clients who are super accomplished, or they're just go-getters, or they have a bold personality, and they are told all the time, oh, you are intimidating. Now, I know that anybody here for Carla Turned On, it's men, it's for women. And I think it's important to bring this up for both sides to hear why this is a turnoff, what's underneath it, and what does it actually mean? Does it mean that the person is just insecure and that's it? No, not always. But we are going to look into the feelings of intimidation, how they can actually come out and manifest in relationships and be the reason that they end. I'm not just saying that as a woman, men are always going to feel this way, or this is a man problem that they feel insecure and they're intimidated. No, women can feel intimidated by their partners too. And they can say the same thing. Oh, I feel intimidated by you. I will say though, I've had a lot more clients and I've coached over 1,000 people at this point. I've been coaching for a long time. And I can tell you right now, I have yet to have, maybe I've had a couple men. I have actually. I've had a couple men say to me that their partners, were jealous or intimidated or try to dim their light. That is true. However, there's an overwhelming amount of women, and I am not hating on men here, but there is an overwhelming amount of women who have said to me, I was with this guy, but he didn't like that I had this type of job or career. I was with this guy, but he didn't like that I was such a go-getter. I was with this guy, but he didn't like that I ran these types of marathons and did really well. And that was a focus of mine. And I think that's just structurally how society was built. We're in a patriarchy. It's a system. And I want to be very clear here when I talk about patriarchy, I am not talking about you as an individual. It's systemic. So patriarchy, for anybody who's like, what is that? Basically, it just means that men hold the power and women are excluded from it to an extent. And that is exactly how the US culture has functioned. And I've got you guys in other countries here, so shout out to you. And maybe this is an opportunity for you to reflect too. Is my culture or the country I live in patriarchal? Number one, I'm just gonna get this out of the way. Hey, real quick, don't forget to like and subscribe. And if you want dating support, don't forget to look in the notes below where you can learn all about my guides and how to work with me. And if you want to follow me on my socials, you can find me anywhere at I am Carla Romo. Let's get turned on. Saying that you are intimidated by someone, telling that person. Now, let's back the fuck up real quick, because if you are feeling intimidated, that's okay. It's just a feeling. It's an experience. But if you vocalize to the person, and this is where I think it is a turnoff. I know it's a turnoff. When you vocalize, yeah, I am intimidated by you. What you are telling the other person is I am projecting my insecurities onto you, and I'm letting you know that you're the problem of why I'm feeling this way. And therefore, I'm feeling discomfort because of you and it's your fault. Instead of taking a pause and going, Why is this coming up for me? What do I feel intimidated about? Now, I'm going to tell you straight up, as somebody who speaks their mind, is out there, has a business, isn't afraid to have opinions on things and share them, obviously respectfully. I'm really big on, and this is actually going to come for our next section all around the dating epidemic and that whole viral video, but I'm really big on having different opinions. Like, that's okay. And actually, I think having different opinions and being able to talk about these things are important. But I am going to stress right now that when you put that on someone else, you are not reflecting within yourself. I, of course, have been intimidated by people, whether they're bosses, coworkers, honestly, even certain friends at stages of life. And it wasn't necessarily because the person was doing anything wrong. It was my perception of myself in relation to them. Number two, they might be saying these things because they are scared of confident people. When they see somebody that's confident, it's something that maybe they want and they don't feel as confident and it makes them feel insecure. And so they look at themselves, and I'm not just talking about men saying this to women, this can be for either or, but I'm looking at it from a perspective of if you don't feel confident and you put that on the other person that you're dating, you are trying to, at that point, vocalize an insecurity without actually taking responsibility for yourself. This is where it's really important. You need to be able to be like, hey, I'm feeling insecure. Not everyone has that awareness, which is why they tell you that you're intimidating. I'm feeling insecure. What is it about me? And that's okay to feel insecure. We all feel insecure. It is okay to feel a little anxious and not as confident. That's normal. Like, we are human beings. We are not this perfect box. I was going to say Barbie doll or whatever, that is just good to go, perfect, everything's great. No, we're human beings, we're complex, we have feelings, we have emotions, we go through shit in life, we have experiences, past triggers, all that good stuff, trauma. And that makes us kind of pause sometimes and go, ooh, this kind of hit a button, or ooh, this doesn't feel so great. So it's okay if you don't always feel so confident. But I think what you have to get underneath is what is causing the lack of being confident. It's not this person. Because if it was this person, what I hear as a coach is there's a lack of emotional regulation. So when somebody says this to you, they aren't able to take that pause. They aren't able to let the feelings pass. Number three, this one goes for relationships. They thought they wanted somebody who was out there, who spoke their mind, had opinions, all the things. And then when push came to shove, they wanted the idea of them and not who they actually were. I have to admit, I have been in past relationships, multiple, not just one relationship, where at first, the guys that I was dating were like, oh my gosh, I love that you do this, or I love that you have a business, or I love, right, all of these things. And it felt great. I was like, wow, they're supportive. This feels so good to have somebody who sees me as an equal and wants to grow together and wants to support me and push me. But as time went on and the relationship actually progressed and we got to know each other more, there all of a sudden felt almost as if there was like a competition, or they didn't like that I spoke my opinion. They didn't like or respect that I had ideas that might be actually really great. And from there, it ended up manifesting into them being resentful toward my success. So at the end of the day, yes, it turns me the F off when people are always like, oh, you're intimidating, you're intimidating, you're intimidating. It ruins relationships without being able to reflect within. It ruins relationships. It ruins potential dates. It ruins being able to have longevity and marriages and success in life with somebody else because of the lack of pause. Being able to just take a moment, reflect, do that inner work, and have that emotional maturity. But this also has to do with a major problem we're having right now, which is why you're probably feeling more than ever frustrated with dating, or even if you're in a relationship, why things don't feel maybe like the way your parents dated or the way things lined up so easily for somebody else. Because there is a massive dating epidemic that is happening literally right now. Now, I get maybe you're sitting there thinking like, I don't want to be the one shaping the cultural dating norms of today's society. I hate to break it to you, but you are. You 100% are. We are. I am. All of us are. Things are shifting so much and so rapidly, which is why dating starts to feel confusing. Like, what's the norm? What's not the norm? Is chivalry dead? Is it not dead? Who pays? Who doesn't pay? I make more than him. Should I not be? I don't know. When do we talk about finances? But he doesn't have to provide. I can provide. And as a dude, you're like, I'm not looking to support and have the person that I'm with just completely stop working. I want her to have her own life. Okay, I am going to tell you straight up right now. I created a video, and you know what? I'm just going to play it for you guys right now. And a little bit of backstory real quick. I created this video on TikTok and it went viral. It didn't go viral because I posted it. Somebody else who is an influencer who posts a certain type of content, I'm gonna leave it there, reposted it and basically was tearing apart what I was sharing, which is okay. That's fine. People are allowed to have different opinions. People are allowed to view the world differently. Maybe you're just like, Carla was talking about the patriarchy and I don't believe that it exists. That's fine. However, I do think it is important to acknowledge shifts and things that are actually happening and occurring so we know how to show up better to life, especially if we're the ones affected by it. Okay, I'm going to play it. There's this dating epidemic that's happening right now. Women do not need men to get bank accounts, houses. They have careers on their own. And so as a result, it's challenging societal norms of the way men value themselves when it comes to being successful for relationships. Whereas the flip side, a lot of women are saying men need to step it up emotionally, which is why I talk a lot about emotional intelligence and how that's what women want. There's this push and pull happening right now with society. I want to know though, what are your thoughts? Originally, when I posted it, I was just thinking, this is something that's seriously happening. I'm watching it with my clients. I've been doing this for years. I watch how dating has shifted. I see how people are starting to feel confused. I see how people are unsure of necessarily even like what gender roles play into dating these days. Now, I don't think this video warranted for the hateful DMs that did follow. However, it was hilarious because I had people that I have not talked to, I'm not joking, and like years reach out to me. Hey, just wanted to let you know, did you know that a video got reposted and stitched by a content creator? And it's not like very positive, like their reaction to it. I was like, by the time I would see like some random person I haven't talked to in like forever message me, at that point, I was like, yeah, I know why they're messaging me. I like, whatever. What was really bizarre about the whole situation is that people were DMing me really hateful things and very misogynistic, negative things about me being a woman. And obviously, like, I disagree with that. But because I created this under my professional account, this wasn't just like Carla in her free time spouting out and sharing these things, but actually my experience of what's going on and my knowledge base as a professional. I did not take the messaging or comments to heart. However, at certain times, I just had to ignore and filter it out. But let's break down this exactly because it clearly pissed off people because there's truth in it. And if somebody's going to take a video and then try to knock it down exactly what I'm saying and cut out certain points, I think it's fair to say that what I was saying was extremely valid. There is a real cultural shift happening right now with dating. And it's 100% true. Women are no longer financially dependent on men. Did you know that women in the US could not get a loan to buy a home until 50 years ago? I bought my home a couple years ago, and to actually think that, shit, like my mom was alive when women could not buy homes. My grandmother was alive. Her husband, my grandfather, had to buy the home for them. Like, that is absolutely bonkers. And one of the comments, actually, it wasn't just one, many of the comments that people tried to say, well, what do you mean? Like, women have had financial independence for years now. That's the problem. We are a generation who is living in real time of men and women both equally being able to get mortgages, men and women equally being able to have successful careers. The financial piece of why women used to get married is no longer prevalent. Women actually used to rely on men financially. It is still instilled at least with the millennials, I can say this, and definitely the older generations as well. But it is instilled in us that men are successful because they can provide financially. There is a reason. It's not just because, oh, yeah, whatever. It's because of a system that created that. And as a result, women were told, stay at home. That's what makes somebody successful. Stay at home and have babies. I truly, genuinely believe that we are still carrying these messages and beliefs because that's what helped us as a society have success, have life, have stability to some extent. Obviously, privilege plays a massive part. Race plays a massive part in this as well. But as a result, if you are sitting there as a woman like, oh my God, I have to have a kid, otherwise I'm not successful. I have to get married, otherwise I'm not successful. And if you're a dude who's like, I'm dating and what the number one thing that I know I have to show up and do is provide, I need to make sure I'm financially successful because that means I'm successful in life, is a product of this. You can't deny it. It's 100% the reason in the way the system was set up. And as a result, and this is key here, because I think sometimes I get comments like, oh, like, I thought you hated on men. I was like, I don't hate on men. What the fuck are you talking about? I'm like, have you not watched my content? No, they haven't watched my content. They just see like a clip of something and they're like, oh, she doesn't like men. It does a disservice. It actually hurts men the way the system was because it once worked for them. It once created a way that men were like, okay, I make money. I have a good career. I'm successful. That is what I need to bring to a relationship. But that is no longer the case. Women can take care of themselves. Women can have careers. I know women, I coach women who have higher earnings than their partners, and that's okay. I also have coached clients before where the man was staying home and the woman was out working. It's not as common. I'll be honest with you. It's not very common, and especially in this fucking economy. Both people are working. And once again, like I said, privilege, race, all of those things play a part in this too. But just from the system standpoint of what was supposed to be successful, what was supposed to be looked at as your part, which you need to do, you need to cover, is no longer going anymore. The old model is dead. It's dead. It's almost as if somebody kind of like took a wrecking ball. You guys remember Miley Cyrus is like, came in like a wrecking ball. I used to love that song. I used to blast it, drive through the Hollywood Hills. It was great. I digress. It's almost like somebody came in with a wrecking ball, was like, bah, 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 right? We're getting rid of this old system. And then it was like, cool, try to pick up the pieces, try to put it back together and make it work. And that is literally what you are dating in. That is the relationships that you're in. The divorce rate right now has actually gone up because women are filing for divorce due to men, their partners, their husbands, unable to actually meet them emotionally. Now, I'm going to give you a moment here. If you're a dude or you're a woman and you're listening to this podcast, probably given that like you're listening to a relationship podcast means that you have emotional intelligence because you're like, I want to get better at this or I want to learn about this. That's all it takes. However, there are people out there who feel lost, and I am not faulting men at this. I'm not, because it's a system that has failed them. It's a system that has failed women, and it's a system that's just not working productively right now. And to be able to say, oh, we should just go back to the old system, or maybe men should just take the lead and we should just try to work within that system. The system, like I said, has been wrecking balled. Has been wrecked? A wrecking ball has gone through the fucking system. And right now, you are experiencing the fallout of it. What is the path forward? It was paved. It was paved through law. It was paved through cultural norms and reinforcement. Society expecting a certain way of women, expecting a certain way of men. And that does not exist anymore. I also think this is why there has been a huge swing in different pushes for certain traditions to come out of relationships. However, when you go one way too hard, you're going to go back another way too hard. And that goes for any side of this. But if you actually break down and look at what makes a successful relationship successful, it's connection. It's being able to communicate your needs. We thrive as a society and community. We 100% do. So I'm not saying you need to be single or the goal is to be single. We don't need anybody. No, actually, there's studies that you live longer when you do have a partner. I also know there's studies that say recently that have come out that state marriage actually benefits men and doesn't benefit women as much. However, I will challenge that for certain generations and the ways that things have been shifting. There's so many men as well that aren't just young. There's older men that I coach as well in their 60s. Yes, I coach men in their 60s too, who have the emotional intelligence, want to work on themselves, are like, yeah, like, this was such a bizarre system when I was a kid or growing up. My parents always said, make the money. You have to make the money. You have to provide. You have to be the provider. And that ended up setting me up for failure right now in life. So I'm open to dating differently. You tell me, Carla, like, what do I need? Shout out to people, men and women, who are willing to shift with change. And change is scary. Why do you think there's so much pushback? If you're listening to this and you're thinking, oh my gosh, I disagree, that's okay. We can totally disagree. But if you are having an emotional response from it, a lot of times we look, and yes, I'm asking all of us to look within ourselves. We do not like change. As human beings, it freaks us out. It scares us. It instills fear in us. So people act crazy sometimes when there's change, right? And I'm not saying you're crazy at all, but it can bring on a lot of emotions, a lot of pushback. And being able to have that awareness around, oh, what is it about this that makes me feel so uncomfortable? And I don't think you need to go to a crazy extreme. I don't think you just have to decide, okay, F this, I'm single, it's done, whatever. But I do think it is about being able to dip into that emotional intelligence. It is the new attraction. It's not just the system that was at play here. Men and women both want connection, not control. A healthy relationship wants connection. That is the number one thing. As humans, the number one desire is connection. And there is a massive mismatch between modern dating and outdated dating, which is hard to say, but there is a mismatch. Many men hear criticism instead of an invitation to grow. And as a result, a lot of men push back. They do. And this is the negative thing. This is how it has affected us negatively as a society, because men are pushing back and they're like, no, I don't want this or whatever. And then you get certain cultures out of it too that are a real thing. And yes, men are feeling lonely. They're feeling isolated. And that is a product of all of this. It is not helping anyone. And it can feel confusing because then many women are like, yes, this is the clarity. Yes, this is, I feel heard. I finally feel like somebody's listening. And then men are getting pushed out and feeling isolated. It does not help anyone. Obviously, women, yes, it's important to be heard, but the dating epidemic is not a gender war, even if people want it to be. Maybe they monetize off of it. Maybe these influencers get loads of people to watch their videos and they make money off of it or whatever. But nobody is going to win this. We're going to continue to be divided. We're going to continue to no longer have connection if we keep the division going. And I think as part of patriarchy in the society, which suggests that men have the power and women are not shared equally within that power or equitably with that power, it harms everybody trying to date right now. It harms everybody in relationships. It harms everybody who's getting divorced right now over this. But at the end of the day, I can tell you right now, as human beings, we can connect. I have faith in humanity. We are not lost, even though we are in this transition, even though it feels frustrating, even though you feel like, what the F is going on? I hate this. I want to just be single for life, or screw women. They're always so negative, blah, blah, blah. It's all just noise. Get out of the division. Get into your heart. I know it's really cheesy to say, but get into emotional intelligence. Emotional intelligence is going to be everything in this situation. Okay, let's talk about orgasming, because we are in our Taco About It, talking about coming and orgasms. And yes, we are actually going to be talking about orgasms right meow. Straight up, have you ever struggled having an orgasm while you were having sex, or doing foreplay, or through touching? Whatever it may be, if your answer is yes, and you are a man or a woman, that is normal. However, statistically speaking, women actually struggle the most around achieving orgasms. So if you're a guy and you're like, oh my gosh, I slept with this girl, but she just couldn't get her there. I feel like a failure. I don't feel like I'm good at it. Or you're a woman and you're like, yes, I faked the O. It was taking too long. So I pretended. I just couldn't get there. Nobody's in the wrong. Stop faking the O's and have a conversation about it. And it's okay if you feel insecure. It's okay if you're like, I couldn't get her there. And it's okay if you're a woman, you're like, I couldn't get there. What's wrong with me? Nothing is wrong with you or her or him. I think what's important to remember is an orgasm isn't just physical, it's also relational. You want to make sure that you feel emotionally safe. You need comfort. You need communication, curiosity, feeling secure with the person, even if you don't know them very well. Responsiveness is also a really big thing that's part of the cues of knowing, okay, yeah, we're on the same page, we're interacting, we're communicating, we're feeling safe. And then obviously presence. It is relational. It's not just a physical thing, and there's nothing wrong with you if you're struggling. What does it actually mean if someone can't consistently get you there? Number one, lack of communication. You're probably not talking much about it. I will be honest with you. A lot of people just do the job, the deed, and then they're done. They're not talking about it during. They're not talking about it before. They're not talking about it afterwards. And it is important to talk about these things, to talk about it, because when you're talking about it, you're feeling more comfortable. You're actually communicating what needs to be done, what should be shifted, what you like, what you don't like. It is rarely about the biology and has so much to do about the behavior. Two, not slowing down. Yes, slowing down can be so helpful, especially for women. If you're going to have sex and you're a man and a woman having sex together, okay? A woman needs foreplay. That is statistically speaking. Women need foreplay in order to get wet, right? Self-lubricant. That's what getting wet is. It means they're turned on. It makes sex more comfortable, enjoyable. But skipping out on the foreplay is also going to not prep her to orgasm. And it's much harder for women to orgasm through penetration and no clitoral support. So you definitely need some kind of clitoral stimulation, whether that's through toys or touching or anything else that you do to get there. That is going to be key. Number two, being self-focused versus partner-focused. This is where a lot of men can actually get in their heads. They think, oh my gosh, am I performing right? Am I not performing right? Women, you're probably like me too. I've felt that. I'm there. Yeah, women, exactly. The same exact feelings. This is where you get so in your head. How do I look? How don't I look? And that right there can prevent somebody completely from not getting there. It might still feel good and it might still feel enjoyable, but you're so preoccupied with trying to get there to climax. And all of a sudden you're like, why can't I do this? Why can't I do this? That's going to stress you the F out. It just is. When you're so focused on trying to climax and that is your main, yeah, you're not going to get there very quickly. I'm just going to be honest with you. Not trying to be negative here, just trying to keep it real with you. But when you are partner focused and you're able to say, okay, what do they like? Are they, how are they enjoying it? What are some of the cues? What noises are they making? How are they communicating with me? Lock eyes with them, okay, wow, this feels very connected right now. That is going to actually help you get to that climax when you are partner focused and you take it out of yourself of how am I doing? Number four is emotional distance equals physically shutting down. If you don't actually feel safe or secure emotionally, you haven't built that up, that rapport with this person, you're going to feel to yourself, oh, I don't feel safe. Your body is instinctively going to know, let me keep this safe. I'm not going to let myself be vulnerable. Having sex is vulnerable AF. I don't care what people say. Sure, you could have sex with whoever, but it is a vulnerable act. And when you're having sex with somebody and you don't feel that you can be vulnerable, then you are going to struggle getting to that climax. You just are. And so it's so important to build emotional safety, emotional intimacy, all of that security. And I say emotional intimacy. The reason I'm not saying physical intimacy, because emotional intimacy is needed. You can have sex with whoever. And maybe you're like, well, the person orgasmed, it was fine. And maybe they did. But for a lot of people, you need that added layer to say, okay, I'm safe. I can do this. I'm comfortable with this person. And number five, I am going to say this one. It's not sexy. It's not fun, but unclear consent. Yes, consent is 110% important. I don't care. Non-negotiables here. I don't care what you say, what you do, what you like, what you don't like, what porn you're watching that is unconsensual, whatever. If you are going to have sex with somebody, it needs to be clearly consensual. Whether it is a conversation that you have or while you're making out, hey, like, how far do you want to go? Like, and ask the person, right? Or whether you are getting to the point of, okay, somebody's grabbing a condom because the protection is important. Having clear consent is sexy. It doesn't have to be, well, would you like to have penetration? No, you don't have to fucking sound like that. What you need to do though is make sure the other person is on board. Because if they're not, and they're feeling uncomfortable or it's not clear, that's not okay and that's not enjoyable. This applies to everyone: women, men, non-binary, queer, gay, straight, relationships, all of the things, lesbians. It applies to everybody, including long-term relationships, to new relationships, new dates, new people. Everything that I just listed out, all 5 things here, are what's going to help you get to that climax. Long story short, you don't need to be a porn star performing. You just need to be present. Loved this episode? Rate it 5 stars, hit that subscribe button, baby, and leave a review. Do you want to work with me? Grab my dating courses, apply for my coaching at carlaromo.com or find it all in the show notes, and give me a little follow at I am Carla Romo on Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok. Catch you next time and stay tuned. Carla Turned On is for educational and entertainment purposes only. This is not a substitute for therapy. For professional support, please reach out to a licensed mental health provider.